Lesson 10.1, Deliberate Parenting, Designing a Nurturing Family Environment. Welcome to Chapter 10, Creating a Family Environment of Growth. Creating a nurturing family environment doesn't just happen by accident. It takes thought, planning, and a bit of intentionality, like constructing a garden that thrives. And yes, much like gardening, it requires some digging, some dirty hands, and maybe a few bugs to contend with. But the results are more than worth it. In this lesson, we're talking about how to approach parenting deliberately, shaping your family environment with purpose, rather than letting it evolve by chance. Step 1. Define your family's core values. Before you can build a nurturing environment, it's important to get clear on what your family values most. What are the principles you want to guide your household? Is it kindness, honesty, respect, curiosity? Every family is different, but taking the time to clarify your values gives you a foundation to build on. Think of this like drawing up the blueprint before building a house. Without a plan, you're just stacking bricks and hoping for the best. But with a plan, you know exactly what you're working toward. You can ask yourself questions like, what kind of adults do we want our children to become? What qualities do we want to model for them? How do we want them to treat themselves, others, and the world around them? These values will guide not only how you handle the big stuff, but also how you approach everyday interactions. Pro tip: write down your family values somewhere visible. Make it a family activity to brainstorm and agree on what matters most. Bonus: you'll have a great answer ready next time the kids ask, why do we have to do this? Step 2. Create an atmosphere of love and support. One of the core elements of deliberate parenting is making sure your home is a place where your children feel loved, accepted, and supported. This doesn't mean letting them do whatever they want. It means creating an environment where they feel safe expressing themselves, where mistakes are treated as learning opportunities, and where love isn't conditional on performance. In this atmosphere, your kids will learn that they are valued, not for what they achieve, but for who they are. When they know they are accepted, quirks, imperfections, and all, they'll feel more secure facing challenges both inside and outside the home. Pro tip: model this yourself. How do you respond when you make a mistake? Show your kids that it's okay to mess up, and what's important is how you handle it afterward. Step 3. Set clear expectations and boundaries. A nurturing environment isn't just about warm hugs and words of encouragement. It also involves structure. Kids thrive when they know the rules and expectations. It's not about being strict for the sake of it, but about giving them a clear sense of what's expected and why. Here's the key: the structure you provide should be fair, age-appropriate, and explained clearly. Don't just impose rules, explain why they exist. We don't play rough inside because we don't want anyone to get hurt. Makes a lot more sense to a child than don't do that or else. When children understand the why behind the rules, they are more likely to follow them, and internalize them as part of their own moral compass. Pro tip: be consistent with boundaries. It's much easier for your child to thrive when the limits don't change from day to day. Imagine a GPS that constantly changes routes. It's confusing, right? The same goes for boundaries. Step 4. Allow space for independence. Building a nurturing environment also means giving your kids room to grow and make decisions for themselves. As they get older, they'll need space to experiment, make mistakes, and learn how to handle the consequences of their choices. Your job is to be there to guide them, but not to make every decision for them. Encourage them to solve problems on their own. If your child asks you how to handle a tricky situation with a friend, ask, what do you think you should do? Instead of jumping in with advice. The goal is to foster their problem-solving skills while reassuring them that you're always there for backup. Pro tip: start small. Let younger children make low-stakes decisions like picking out their clothes or choosing what game to play. For older kids, you can let them take more responsibility for homework or time management. Step 5. Foster open communication. A family that thrives is one where communication is open and honest. As parents, we need to create a space where our kids feel comfortable coming to us with their thoughts, fears, and concerns, without fear of judgment or punishment. This means becoming better listeners. Really listen when they talk and respond with empathy. Don't just wait for your turn to give advice or correct them. Ask questions, dig deeper, and let them know you're there to help them work through their thoughts and emotions. Pro tip: practice active listening. That means no distractions, no multitasking, and no half listening while mentally preparing your grocery list. Give them your full attention. Kids can tell when you're not fully tuned in. Step 6: balance discipline with compassion. Discipline is part of parenting, but in a nurturing family, it's about teaching, not punishing. When kids break the rules, the goal should be to help them understand why their behavior was wrong and what they can do differently next time. Instead of focusing on what they did wrong, focus on what they can learn. You didn't clean up after dinner. Next time, let's try setting a reminder so you don't forget. It's far more effective than, why do I always have to remind you? Pro tip: follow up with a positive solution after discipline. If there's a consequence for a misstep, also offer guidance on how they can avoid the same mistake in the future. Wrapping it up. Deliberate parenting is about purposefully designing the environment in which your family lives and grows. By setting clear values, providing structure, nurturing communication, and giving your kids the tools to take responsibility for their actions, you create a space where everyone can thrive. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional, showing up with purpose each day, even when it's messy. Because at the end of the day, the most important work we do happens inside our own homes. Lesson 10.2: encouraging open communication and emotional honesty. Open communication and emotional honesty are the foundations of any healthy family environment. Without these, misunderstandings, resentments, and emotional distance can creep in, making family life feel more like a battlefield than a place of support. So how do we foster an environment where our kids feel safe to express themselves, and where emotional honesty isn't just a rare event, but a natural part of everyday life? Let's dive into some practical ways to make this happen. Step 1: model emotional honesty yourself. It's hard to expect our kids to be open about their emotions if they never see us doing it. Kids learn a lot about emotional expression from their parents, so the more we can model emotional honesty, the more likely they are to follow suit. Start by being open about your own emotions, in an age-appropriate way, of course. If you're feeling frustrated, say so. If you're disappointed or excited, let them know. The goal here is to normalize talking about emotions so that your children learn that it's not something to be embarrassed or ashamed about. For example, instead of suppressing your feelings after a tough day, you might say, "I had a really stressful day at work and I'm feeling a little frustrated. I just need a few minutes to relax." This not only models emotional honesty, but also shows how to manage feelings in a healthy way. Pro tip: balance is key. You don't want to unload every adult problem onto your child, but giving them a peek into your emotional world helps them feel safe to share theirs. Step 2: create a safe space for expression. Kids are less likely to be open about their feelings if they think they'll be judged, dismissed, or punished for them. It's crucial to create a family atmosphere where everyone feels safe to express their thoughts and emotions without fear of criticism or ridicule. When your child shares something with you, whether it's about school, friendships, or how they're feeling, listen without interrupting or jumping in with advice. Validate their feelings by saying things like, "That sounds really frustrating," or "I can see why you feel that way." This helps them feel understood and encourages them to keep sharing. The goal is not to solve their problems for them, but to let them know that their emotions are valid and welcome in your home. Pro tip: avoid using phrases like, "Don't feel that way," or "You're overreacting." These statements shut down communication and make kids less likely to be open in the future. Step 3: encourage conversations about difficult emotions. It's easy to talk about happy emotions, but how often do we encourage our kids to express the difficult ones, like anger, sadness, or disappointment? These are the emotions that, if left unspoken, can fester and create more problems down the road. When your child seems upset, don't wait for them to bring it up. Gently encourage them to talk about what's bothering them. You can say something like, "You seem a little down today. Do you want to talk about what's going on?" Even if they're not ready to talk at that moment, letting them know you're there and willing to listen is a big step toward creating an environment where difficult emotions aren't avoided but faced head on. Pro tip: timing matters. If your child isn't ready to talk, don't push it. Just remind them that when they are ready, you're there to listen. Step 4, be honest about your expectations. Sometimes kids withhold their feelings because they're afraid of disappointing their parents or not meeting expectations. One way to encourage emotional honesty is by being clear about your expectations, not just in terms of behavior, but in terms of communication. Let your child know that it's okay to feel upset, disappointed, or angry, and that expressing those feelings is not something to be punished for. For example, you might say, "It's okay to be mad. It's not okay to hurt others when you're mad. But I want to hear what's bothering you." By separating the feeling from the behavior, you create a space where your child can be honest about what they're feeling without fearing a negative reaction from you. Pro tip: reinforce this message regularly. It can take time for kids to fully trust that expressing their feelings won't result in criticism or punishment. Step 5, normalize emotions, big and small. One of the best ways to encourage emotional honesty is by normalizing emotions of all sizes. Whether your child is having a meltdown over a lost toy or feeling anxious about a test, the goal is to treat every emotion with the same level of respect and attention. Avoid dismissing emotions as no big deal, even if they seem trivial to you. To your child, that lost toy might be the end of the world, and acknowledging that makes them feel heard and understood. The more you normalize talking about emotions, the more your child will feel comfortable expressing them, whether they're feeling sad about something small or overwhelmed by something big. Pro tip: use everyday moments to talk about emotions. If you're watching a movie and a character is sad, ask your child, "How do you think they're feeling right now?" This helps them develop emotional awareness and opens the door for them to express their own feelings more readily. Wrapping it up. Encouraging open communication and emotional honesty isn't about prying into your child's every thought. It's about creating an environment where they feel safe, respected, and free to share their feelings without fear of judgment. When we model emotional honesty, create a safe space for expression, and normalize all kinds of emotions, we give our children the tools they need to navigate their inner world and express themselves openly. In the long run, fostering this kind of environment strengthens the bonds within your family and gives your children the emotional resilience they'll need to face life's challenges head on. Hey, you like free stuff, don't you? Of course you do. Who doesn't? Well, good news. In addition to this great course, we've got plenty more available at freecoursesforall.com for your listening pleasure. So, once you're done with this one, be sure to check back often because we're always adding new content. That's freecourses4all.com. Now, back to the course. Lesson 10.3: Fostering resilience and problem-solving skills in children. Raising kids who can bounce back from setbacks and tackle problems head-on is one of the most important things we can do as parents. We're not raising children to remain children forever. We're raising future adults who need the resilience to face life's inevitable challenges. But how do we help them develop these critical life skills without hovering or fixing everything for them? Let's get into some practical, hands-on ways to foster resilience and build problem-solving skills in your kids. Step 1. Teach them to fail gracefully. Failure is a part of life. We know that. But for a child, especially one who is used to being praised, failure can feel like the end of the world. That's why it's important to teach them that failure isn't something to be feared, but something to learn from. In fact, failure is an essential step towards success. When your child experiences a setback, be it a poor test score or a bad day with friends, don't rush to fix it. Instead, help them see what they can learn from the experience. Ask questions like, "What could you do differently next time?" Or "What's the lesson here?" By reframing failure as an opportunity for growth, you help your child build resilience. Pro tip: share your own failures with your kids. It shows them that everyone, even you, makes mistakes and survives to tell the tale. Step 2. Encourage problem solving over problem avoiding. It's tempting to solve problems for your child, especially when you see a solution right in front of you. But every time you jump in and fix things, you rob your child of the chance to develop problem-solving skills. Instead of solving the problem for them, coach them through it. Ask guiding questions like, "What do you think you could do?" Or, "What's another way you could handle this?" Give them the space to brainstorm solutions, even if some of their ideas seem far-fetched. The goal is to help them learn to approach problems with creativity and confidence. Pro tip: resist the urge to correct their solutions right away. Let them try their ideas, even if they don't seem perfect. The process of trial and error is crucial for learning. Step 3. Normalize struggle and effort. In a world where everything is designed to be fast and easy, kids can get the wrong idea that anything requiring effort isn't worth it. We need to counteract that by showing them that hard work is not only okay, but necessary. Praise effort, not just results. When your child sticks with a difficult task, whether it's solving a math problem, practicing piano, or dealing with a tough social situation, acknowledge the effort they're putting in. "I can see you're really working hard on that," is more effective than focusing solely on the outcome. Pro tip: when your child is frustrated and says, "I can't do it," respond with, "You can't do it yet." This simple word helps them see that success is still possible with persistence. Step 4. Let them experience consequences. Sometimes the best teacher is a natural consequence. If your child doesn't do their homework, they might face a poor grade. If they refuse to wear a coat, they'll get cold. As long as the consequence isn't harmful, letting them experience the results of their choices is a powerful way to help them learn to take responsibility. This doesn't mean you let them fail without support. You can still be there to comfort them and talk about what happened, but resist the urge to shield them from every negative outcome. Experiencing consequences helps children understand that their actions have real effects and that they have control over the choices they make. Pro tip: when the consequence happens, resist the "I told you so." Instead, ask, "What can you learn from this?" It keeps the focus on growth rather than shame. Step 5. Teach coping skills. Resilience isn't just about handling problems, it's also about managing the emotions that come with them. Kids need to learn how to handle frustration, anger, disappointment, and sadness without melting down or giving up. Help them identify their emotions when they're struggling. Saying, "It looks like you're feeling frustrated," helps them recognize what they're going through and gives them the vocabulary to talk about it. Then, offer simple coping strategies, deep breaths, taking a short break, or even talking through the problem with you. Pro tip: practice these coping skills when your child is calm, so they're easier to access in moments of stress. Turn it into a game. Let's take 5 deep breaths together, and it becomes a skill they'll use for life. Step 6. Be a safe place to fall. Building resilience doesn't mean being tough all the time. In fact, kids need to know that home is a safe place to land when things don't go their way. When your child is feeling discouraged, upset, or overwhelmed, let them know it's okay to feel that way. You don't need to rush them through their emotions. Just sit with them, offer comfort, and listen. Resilience comes not from avoiding emotions, but from feeling them and learning to move through them. By being a safe, non-judgmental presence, you're giving your child the emotional support they need to process their experiences and bounce back stronger. Pro tip: sometimes the best thing you can do is just be there. You don't have to solve their problems or make everything better. Just being present is enough. Wrapping it up. Fostering resilience and problem-solving skills in your children is all about letting them experience challenges, learn from their mistakes, and find their own solutions. With your guidance, of course. It's not about shielding them from every bump in the road, but helping them build the tools they need to handle life's inevitable ups and downs. By modeling resilience, guiding them through problem solving, and supporting their emotional growth, you're setting your child up for a lifetime of success, one challenge at a time. Lesson 10.4: How family structure and values influence parenting. Family structure and values form the foundation of how we parent and what our children learn from us. Every family, whether consciously or not, operates within a certain structure, guided by values that shape decisions, behaviors, and relationships. In this lesson, we'll break down how these elements influence parenting and, more importantly, how you can use them deliberately to create a nurturing environment. Step 1. Recognize the role of family structure. Family structure can refer to the organization of your household, whether it's a two-parent home, single-parent home, blended family, or extended family setup, but it also refers to the way roles and responsibilities are assigned within the home. Who's in charge of what? How are decisions made? Is the family more democratic, where everyone has a say, or is it more authoritarian, where one person, usually the parent, holds the reins? Understanding your family's structure helps in recognizing the dynamics at play. Do kids know what's expected of them? Is there a clear chain of command, or does it feel like everyone's winging it? The more clarity there is around these roles, the more stability children feel. Pro tip: if your family's structure feels too rigid or too loose, it's okay to make adjustments. Just like a house, sometimes a little renovation goes a long way. Step 2. Identify your core family values. Values are the guiding principles that define what's important to your family. They help establish priorities and influence how decisions are made, whether you realize it or not. Honesty, kindness, responsibility, and respect might be a few core values, but these will differ from family to family. What's important is to define them explicitly. Family values are the why, behind the what you do as parents. When kids understand the values driving the rules, they're more likely to embrace them. For example, if a family values hard work, then it's easier for a child to understand why they need to contribute to household chores or why school performance matters. Pro tip: have a family meeting to brainstorm and define your top 5 values. Make it fun and let your kids help decide what matters most to your family. Step 3. Balance structure with flexibility. Too much structure can feel suffocating. Too little can lead to chaos. The key is finding a balance where expectations are clear, but there's also room for flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and being able to adapt is just as important as having rules in place. For instance, you might have a strict rule about no screens after dinner, but every once in a while, you make an exception for family movie night. This shows kids that while rules are important, so is flexibility and enjoying time together as a family. Pro tip: set up routines that give structure but allow flexibility when needed. This way, kids know the plan but can also adapt when things don't go perfectly. Step 4. Align your parenting with your values. Once you've identified your core values, it's crucial that your parenting decisions reflect those values. If respect is one of your core values, how are you modeling respect in your interactions with your kids? If hard work is a key value, how do you show that in your daily life? Consistency between what you say and what you do is key here. Children are more likely to follow your lead if they see you living out the values you preach. If there's a mismatch between the values you talk about and the way you act, it can create confusion and weaken your influence. Pro tip: check in with yourself regularly to make sure your actions are aligning with your values. Kids are quick to spot inconsistencies, and when they see you walking the walk, they're more likely to follow suit. Step 5. Embrace diversity in values. As your kids grow older, they'll start developing their own values. And surprise, they may not always align perfectly with yours. This is where parenting can get tricky, but it's also where a nurturing environment shines. Creating space for kids to explore their own beliefs while still holding to your family's core values is a delicate balance. Encourage open dialogue about values, yours and theirs. It doesn't mean you need to let go of your values, but it does mean being open to hearing theirs and helping them understand why certain values are important to you. Pro tip: when values clash, resist the urge to shut down the conversation. Instead, ask open-ended questions like, why do you feel that way? This keeps the lines of communication open and fosters mutual respect. Wrapping it up. Family structure and values are the pillars that hold up your parenting style. They influence how your household operates, the decisions you make, and how your children develop their own sense of responsibility, independence, and moral compass. By being deliberate about these elements, you create a nurturing, stable environment where your children can thrive, not just within your family, but in the wider world. Course conclusion. That's it for Chapter 10 and the course. We made it. Now, before I say farewell, I want to leave you with some parting words of wisdom. If you take anything away from this course, let it be these key points. 1. Balance love and structure. The best parenting happens when you combine warmth and empathy with clear boundaries and expectations. This isn't easy, but it's what helps your children thrive. 2. Maturation over problem solving. In those key parenting moments, focus less on solving the immediate problem and more on helping your child grow. Each problem is an opportunity to teach responsibility, resilience, and emotional intelligence. 3. Teach responsibility, don't take it. Help your children take ownership of their feelings, actions, and choices. This is a long game. Guide them rather than control or fix everything for them. 4. Model emotional honesty. Kids learn from what you do more than what you say. Be emotionally open and honest in a way that's appropriate, and they'll follow your lead. 5. Foster resilience. Let your children experience failure and setbacks. Guide them to see these as learning opportunities rather than reasons to give up. 6. Encourage problem solving. Don't hand your kids all the answers. Teach them to brainstorm solutions and figure things out. This builds their confidence and independence. 7. Create a safe space for expression. Emotional honesty thrives in a home where kids feel heard and valued, even when they make mistakes. Listen more, judge less. 8. Own your reactions. When you're calm, you're better able to guide your kids through tough moments. Your example of self-regulation teaches them how to manage their own emotions. 9. Be the gardener, not the mechanic. You can't force your children to blossom into the perfect people you envision. What you can do is provide a nurturing environment that supports their natural growth. 10. Remember, parenting is imperfect. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. You'll make mistakes, but the goal is to learn and grow right alongside your children. Now, go forth and parent with purpose, humor, and a whole lot of love.